Good morning. Good morning, traders. How are you all doing today? Karibuni sana. Glad you could all join us this fine Monday morning. Hope everyone had a great weekend as well. So, apologies for starting a few minutes late. There were some fundamentals that were coming out that we needed to adjust our watch list. So, apologies for that. So, I guess let's jump straight into it. So, hello everyone. How are you doing today? My name is Mitch Kanyaru, a trader with Afriforex. I want to welcome you to another Afriforex daily analysis session. Now, during these webinars, we as a Forex team, we analyze the markets, we identify what trading opportunities we'll be looking at taking for the day, and we do share that information with you. So, as usual, not here alone. We do have John in the back office. He'll be here to assist whatever questions or queries you might have. So feel free to ask those questions either in the Q&A section or in the chat box, and John will be there to respond to you. So let's jump straight into it. So we'll start off by sharing my screen. So I hope everyone can see my screen. So let's jump straight into it. So as usual, we'll start off with our watch list. So here's our watch list for today. We will be looking for selling opportunities on the Swiss franc, the Canadian dollar, as well as the US dollar. And we're going to mix and match those pairs with all the pairs on the buy side. That's the Australian dollar, the euro, the British pound, the New Zealand dollar, as well as the Japanese yen. Now, one thing to take note of, even within our watch list, there is still a lot of caution with the Japanese yen. Remember, on Friday, we did end up having it on the sidelines where it was neutral, because we weren't really focusing on that, mainly because there was a bunch of government intervention that we assumed that did end up happening based on the movements that came in on the Japanese yen, but not too sure whether or not they're going to actually continue with that. Now, so we've just decided to leave it on the buy side. And another thing is most likely it's going to be dragged, and the probability of it being manipulated today ends up being low, mainly because you can see today it's Marine Day in Japan, so it's a holiday, a bank holiday, so there's not necessarily going to be that much volatility for the Japanese yen pairs. However, we will just keep it on the buy side, but be aware as we're having a look at it, we trade it with caution. So since most of the pairs are pretty much the same, we'll jump straight into it since most of the pairs we're looking at on Friday are still the pairs that we're going to be looking at today. So we'll start off with the Swiss franc pairs, mix and match that with the pairs on the buy side, do the same thing with the Canadian dollar as well as the US dollar before we do have a look at the commodities as well. Now, remember, if you do manage to take any setups based on things that we do share, feel free to send them in to us. Our contact details are right there in the chat box. So let's start off with the Swiss franc pairs. So as usual, we'll start off with the Australian dollar against the Swiss franc. Now, on Friday, our bias here was to look for buying opportunities, and it is still a similar situation today. However, this pair did end up seeming quite choppy, because you can see as the market was going up, it was still making higher highs and higher lows. We're hoping to see the price potentially break this area to the upside and hold above, but you can see it seems to be in some sort of channel due to the fact that the market, as you can see, ranging between those two levels, still going to the upside, but quite choppy, and those pullbacks are coming in very deep. So that's did not necessarily give us much of an opportunity on Friday, but the bias here is still going to be looking for buying opportunities, and we'll pretty much still focus on the same areas. So we'll still be looking for buying opportunities. You can see right now, it's coming down, it keeps on breaking to the upside, attempting to hold above, trying again, attempting to hold above. So right now, the way the market is, we want to see something similar to what we're expecting on Friday. So hopefully, if we can end up getting this price breaking to the upside, and on the pullback, we actually get the price holding above, then we should be able to look for buying opportunities there. However, if we don't necessarily see the buys working in and the price holds below this area, let's see if we can end up getting this price coming back down all the way to this particular area. Let's see some signs that the sellers are slowing down, big boy buyers are coming in for us to potentially look for a buying opportunity on the Australian dollar against the Swiss franc. But back then it's channeling, do trade this pair with a bit of caution. So pretty much game plan is the same thing, not necessarily much of an opportunity on Friday. So let's hope that we can end up getting something nice today. So hope that's clear. As we move on to the next Swiss franc pair, we do have the euro against the Swiss franc. Similar situation in this kind of pair. Our bias on Friday was to look for buying opportunities. You can see the three areas that we had highlighted. Now at 10 o'clock during the London market open, you can see the price did end up pulling back. Unfortunately, did not get all the way to the area that we had wanted before the price did attempt to go to the upside. Now you can see once the price broke the upside on the pullback, to confirm that this was actually a breach, wanted to see the price actually holding above, but you can clearly see it actually came down lower, never held above. So in this situation, you can see the price came all the way back down to the main buyers area that we're talking about. This was just before 4:30, so the New York Stock Exchange opened. And you can see the price did manage to break to the upside. If you did miss this opportunity here, you can see right here, once the price broke to the upside, you can see there was a pullback, confirming that the price is actually holding above, and you could have actually looked for a buying opportunity then as well. So today, with the euro against the Swiss franc, our bias here is still going to be looking for buying opportunities. So we have adjusted the level slightly. So we'll be looking for buying opportunities as long as we're holding above this red support and resistance area. So right now, we'll be focusing on these locations. You can see even now where the price is at. We seem to be within a seller's area where the market attempt to break this area to the upside, but it seems to have just been approved as the price is holding below. So in this situation, we're not necessarily going to jump in on a buy because we're in a seller's area. So we need one of two things. Either the breach to the upside happens, and when you see the price actually holding above, then we should be able to look for a buying opportunity. And remember, the market opening times, 10, 3, and 4 o'clock, you could end up finding some buying opportunities there. But if these sellers, or at least due to the fact that it was approved, hopefully what we want to see is if we can get the price coming back down a bit. If we do see a pullback coming in and we see the price actually holding above within this particular area, we should be able to also look for a buying opportunity there. So for right now on the euro against Swiss franc, we just be on the sideline. Let's wait to see what ends up happening. Either the buyers are going to come in so we can continue with those buys, or a pullback is going to come in during the London session, and you could find during the US session, that's when the market starts moving to the upside. So we'll be waiting to see what ends up happening on the euro against the Swiss franc. So moving on to the next Swiss franc pair, we do have the British pound against the Swiss franc. Similar situation, we did have this kind of pair on Friday, looking for buying opportunities. This pair worked out quite well during both the London as well as the US session. You can see during the London session, the price was within this area. You can see a small probe, but the price actually held above within this area. So there was a buying opportunity within that location. Now, if you did miss that area, you can see the market did end up giving us a pullback, coming back towards this buyer's area. You can see that was around 3:30 to around 4:30. 4:30 is when it actually started taking off to the upside. So that's why we always sound like a broken record with all these timings, 10, 3, and 4:30. But chances are you will end up getting a very nice opportunity there. You can see as the price has come up, we seem to have approached an area where the sellers. You can see a similar probe as we have seen on the euro against the Swiss franc. So right now, since we're within an area where the sellers, we do not want to jump in on any buying opportunity. So we'll be waiting for one of two options. Either this seller's area will not going to end up holding, and you can find the price breaching to the upside. And if the price holds above, then we should be able to continue looking for buying opportunities on the British pound against the Swiss franc. But let's wait to see if we can hopefully get this price giving us a pullback within the support and resistance area for us to look for buying opportunities then. And remember the timings 10, 3, and 4:30, and the fact that the euro against the Swiss franc also looks similar to the British pound against the Swiss franc. So if one starts pulling back, have a look at the other pairs, because you could find if they're pulling back at the same time, chances are you'll get the opportunity for the buy as well at around the same time. So we'll wait to see what ends up happening on the British pound against the Swiss franc. So hope that's clear on the British pound against the Swiss franc. We'll move on to the next Swiss franc pair, which is the New Zealand dollar against the Swiss franc. Now, on this kind of pair, you can see the three levels we had pointed out right here. Now, you can clearly see right now the market seems to be in some sort of range bouncing between these two levels. Because remember on Friday, since we were looking for those buys, unfortunately, the pullback could not necessarily get all the way to this particular problem area. You can see there was some small support and resistance area where the sellers have breached. Once the price broke to the upside, it seems that the price was holding above before attempting to go up high. And you can see it did something similar at 3 o'clock, still pulled back towards the support and resistance area where the buyers did react during the London session and attempt to go up higher. But you can clearly see the reason why we did point out you need to make sure you manage this trade and also focus on the market structure, because the fact that we are within a range, obviously the best option is to look for a buy at the bottom, make sure to manage your trade within the top area. So right now, we'll still be focusing on looking for those buying opportunities on this pair. We'll focus on these three levels as well. Since right now we seem to be still within that particular range, so we'll wait to see what ends up happening. And then as we're approaching the bottom of the range, right now, as you can see, let's wait to see if we can end up getting something similar to what happened on Friday. So if the price comes down lower, gives us some sort of probe, when you see the buyers reacting and the sellers are not able to go any lower, you could end up finding a nice buying opportunity there, but make sure you manage your trade within the top of the range. Now, if the price ends up breaking and holding below this red support and resistance area, this pair will fall off our watch list. Now, be aware that since we are ranging and you definitely need to manage your trade at the top. Now, if you do end up missing this trade at the bottom and the price is able to break this area to the upside, the top of the range, and it falls above, then definitely we should be good to go to continue looking for buying opportunities, but we'll be able to try and target all the way right there at the top. So even if we're focusing on all that area, or at least that area that's quite far away, you can see an area where sellers have reacted from before. These are areas of what we call problem areas where you should do some sort of trade management. There's never always a guarantee that the price is going to break within those locations. But if you know there's going to be some sort of reaction or probability of that happening, if you manage some of your trade by closing some of your position, if it pulls back, you're still okay where you actually still made money. But now if it continues going up, you're still fine because you've secured some, the trade is still on, giving it space to actually move. So as long as you are able to manage your trade well, you should be good to go with this New Zealand dollar against the Swiss franc. So hope that's clear on this Swiss franc pair as we move on to the last Swiss franc pair that we do have. So right here, we have the Swiss franc against the Japanese yen. Now remember, we did mention trading the Japanese yen, we do need to trade it with caution. Can clearly see how this market really came down quite aggressive. This was on Thursday last week, where we did end up pointing out there was some potential government intervention, and we did want to see whether or not the price is actually going to break this area to the upside to continue, or whether or not the intervention is actually going to continue coming down. So since the market still managed to actually come down slightly, we'll still be focusing, or at least in this pair, we'll be looking for selling opportunities. If we're looking at the market structure, we seem to be in some sort of range. So if that's the case, top of the range is right here, looking for a selling opportunity. We do have a middle area right here where you can see the price has ended up reacting, bouncing within this area. We did probe, but you can see once the price came down and held below, this now ends up being a problem area. So you can see the price has managed to come all the way back down towards the buyer's area. So since we are going to be looking for sell, let's wait to see what ends up happening. Hopefully we can end up getting the sell right there at the top. But if the pullback comes in and we do see these buyers slowing down within this area and they can't go any higher, then you could end up easily finding the price coming down lower from this particular location. Now, if the price is able to come down lower, break and hold below this particular support and resistance area, then we should be able to continue looking for selling opportunities once the price ends up holding below. But I would advise if you're going to trade any yen pairs, do make sure you're managing those trades, because the way the markets are moving and there's government intervention, even though the fundamentals are in line with us, certain things can end up happening, and you do want to make sure that you're keeping your account safe at that point. So let's end up seeing what happens on the Swiss franc against the yen, and let's see how this pullback comes in. So that's it for all the Swiss franc pairs. As you can see, we'll mix and match the Swiss franc with all the pairs on the buy side. So right now we're going to move on to the Canadian dollar pairs and do the exact same thing. So we'll start off here with the Australian dollar against Canadian dollar. Now remember, on this kind of pair on Friday, our bias was to look for buying opportunities. You can see the three areas that we had pointed out. So in this situation, the trade worked out nicely. You can see at 10 o'clock, the market did end up giving us a pullback where the price did end up attempting to go up higher. Remember, I had pointed out there was a problem area here where there were some sellers. Because I know when we're having this, when we're looking at this early in the morning that day on Friday, the price was within this particular location. We did point out that there were some sellers right here who were giving issues. So even if you did get your buying opportunity there, there could be some other trade management there or waiting for a breach to the upside. Once a breach ended up happening, you can see we did end up getting a slight pullback. And if you do note the time, that was at 3 o'clock when the price was actually able to break this area to the upside. So that did give us another opportunity. Now, if you did miss that, you can clearly see, since we're dealing with the Australian dollar pair, and the Australian dollar pairs are mainly active during the Asian session, you can see the price still did manage to pull back, coming back to the same area right here, giving us a buying opportunity as well. So we did miss that. That's okay, because today we'll still be looking for buying opportunities. So we'll be focusing on these three areas. You can see right now within an area where the sellers looking for a buying opportunity, that is not a good idea. And you can see the way the sellers have started coming in. So we want to see if we can end up getting this pullback coming in within this particular support and resistance area. Hopefully we can end up getting some sort of probe or price action signal within this particular area for us to look for buying opportunities. But we do know as long as we're holding above this red support and resistance area, our bias is going to be looking for buying opportunities. Now, one thing to take note of, or at least is the market ends up moving. There's certain characteristics that you always end up realizing. So the fact that the price managed to go to the upside, and you can see we did get a pullback within this particular area right here with this support and resistance area. And you can see the buyers have attempted to go up higher, but the fact that they have not been able to make any new highs, That just possibly means that this price right here, where the buyers did end up reacting from, it probably wasn't a good enough price, meaning in order for to incite more buyers, maybe more of a discount is required. So what you could end up finding is that this price ends up coming down rather than holding within here, might end up coming down a bit lower, coming back even back to where the buyers ended up starting on Friday. So you could find the market ends up reacting within that location. So by the time that the price is here, guaranteed most people at that time are going to be looking for selling opportunities. And for us, we do know that it's still going to be a buy. And if you see the price coming back in and holding above, then you could end up finding a very nice buying opportunity coming in. But we want to see what kind of reaction, or at least that what buyers area are the buyers actually going to come back in. So we'll wait to see what ends up happening, but that's ideally the game plan that we'll be looking at for the Australian dollar against the Canadian dollar. So let's move on to the next currency pair we do have, to the euro against the Canadian dollar. Similar situation. On Friday, our bias was to look for buying opportunities. Now, we had pointed out there was a buyer's area right here. I did mention that even though we're hoping to see the price coming back all the way to this area, remember, when the markets are opening and they're within either a buyer's or seller's area, it has a high probability of reacting within that location. So you can see as the price was pulling back, rather than coming all the way back down to our main buyers, it ended up reacting within this small buyer's area and did manage to start going to the upside. Now, if you did miss that opportunity, you can see as the price broke to the upside, there was a hold above, giving us an opportunity to actually take the price up higher. If we did miss that, because that was around 12:30, you can see at 3 o'clock or just around 3:30, the price did manage to come back in to that particular support and resistance area. So if you did have some sort of bending order, you can clearly see that buyers did manage to continue going up as well during the US session. So today, buyers here is going to be looking for buying opportunities. You can see right now we're within an area where the sellers will be very interested to see whether or not the buyers are actually going to hold above within this particular location. So if we do see the price holding above, similar to what happened here on Friday, then we could end up actually looking for buying opportunities. But there's also a probability or possibility that this might end up just being a probe. So if the price ends up coming back inside this particular area and falls below, chances are we could be coming back all the way down to this buyer's area before we're able to look for a buying opportunity there. Now, be aware that as long as we're holding above this red support and resistance area, the buys are still going to be on. So it's only when the price actually breaks and holds below this red support and resistance area will we actually make this pair fall off our watch list, because the buys will no longer be active at that point in time. So right now, let's wait to see what ends up happening. If the price holds above, then we should find a nice buying opportunity on the euro against the Canadian dollar. So I hope that's clear. As we move on to the next Canadian dollar pair. So here we have the British pound against the Canadian dollar. Now it seems that the British pound pairs really did move quite a bit on Friday, so they were definitely showing a lot of strength. And this also shows that the Canadian dollar was showing a lot of weakness. The way we can end up telling that is that if the pairs are showing, one is showing a lot of strength, the other is showing a lot of weakness, both of them are trying to push it to the upside. So one is pulling, the other is pushing. But that just means that the chances of a pullback coming in end up being very, very low. So you can see at 10 o'clock, as the price managed to break this area to the upside, there was a small hole right there at the top, and the price continued going up. And you can clearly see there was hardly any pullbacks as the market continued grinding higher and higher. So today, buyers here is still going to be looking for buying opportunities. We have seen that also with the euro against the Canadian dollar, it looks as if it's attempting to break that particular high. So we wait to see if the price ends up holding above within this area, we should be able to continue looking for buying opportunities. Take a look at the euro against the Canadian dollar. So if both of them end up holding above, you have a higher probability of your trade working out, looking for a buying opportunity there. But if you see one of them pulling back in and holding below, then chances are the other one might do the same thing as well. And we could end up easily getting that pullback coming in within this particular buyer's area before we're able to see buying opportunity coming in. So we wait to see what ends up happening on the pullback. If it actually ends up holding above, we might end up finding a nice buying opportunity. And remember the market opening times. So even though right now it does look as if you might want to jump in on a trade right now, just be a bit patient. Because remember the high chance, or at least the market has a high likelihood of moving at 10 o'clock. So we do have another 30 minutes or so to make sure that, to at least confirm that the price is actually going to be holding above that area. So let's wait to see what ends up happening on the British pound against the Canadian dollar. Now, moving on to the next Canadian dollar pair we do have, which is the New Zealand dollar against the Canadian dollar. You can see the Canadian dollar pairs worked out quite well on Friday. You can see the three areas that we had pointed out. Now, initially, the price was within an area where there are sellers, so we do not want to jump in any buying opportunities. Then we can see the illustrations that we had pointed out. Either a pullback coming in within the buyer's area, or if this seller's area doesn't hold and we get the price breaching the upside, we do get the price pulling back and holding above, then we should be able to look for buying opportunities. And you can see that's exactly what happened. The price managed to get all the way to the main seller's area. And even if we are looking at the market opening times, you can see the price spiked down right here, coming back to this particular support and resistance area. That was around 330. There was some fundamentals for the US dollar, but ideally that ended up working out nicely during the US session as well. So today, the bias here is still going to be looking for buying opportunities. We have adjusted the level slightly. So we'll be looking for buying opportunities based on these three locations. So right now, you can basically see where the price is at. We do seem to be breaking this area to the downside. And these are the signs that we do end up wanting to see. You can see as the price came down, look at the way the buyers came in. Not necessarily that strong. As the sellers came down, look at the way the buyers came in, quite choppy and with all those candles. That just shows that those buyers are not fully interested. And it makes sense why the price came back towards the seller's area. And those sellers are reacting again as well. So it means that the buyers are not yet interested. So if we are able to get the price coming in a bit lower, so if we do end up seeing the way the price is coming down lower, if we do end up getting the price actually holding below, chances are we could be coming all the way back towards this particular support and resistance area for us to look for those buying opportunities. But remember, what we want to see is if the price approaches one of these areas, let's see a sign that the big boy buyers are actually interested, not necessarily choppy moves to the upside, but we want to see a strong push. Once we see that, then that gives us a very good indication that the buyers could be interested at that price, and we could find the price going up higher then. But for now, let's wait to see what ends up happening. Clearly, it seems that the pullbacks are coming in, but we do have areas of interest that we'll wait to see how the market reacts in those locations. So I hope that is clear on the New Zealand dollar against the Canadian dollar. As we move on to the last Canadian dollar pair, which is the Canadian dollar against the Japanese yen. You can see the same correlation coming in with all these yen pairs. On Thursday, the way the prices came down extreme, did end up having some sort of support and resistance area here, where on Friday, we did manage to break this area to the downside and hold below. And right now, we're back within the buyer's area. So here, we'll definitely still be looking for selling opportunities. But remember, I did point out to trade the Japanese yen pairs with caution. You can see we do seem to be in some sort of range, like all the other pairs. We'll end up having a look at all the other yen pairs, where they basically did the exact same thing. Because one thing about the yen pairs, they're very much correlated. So wait to see what ends up happening, either since we're ranging, either a sell at the top for us to look for selling opportunities. Then we wouldn't necessarily be looking to jump in on buying opportunities here, mainly because remember, as we had looked at the other pair, look at the way the buyers are reacting. They are quite choppy. So there's not once that we've actually seen the buyers really coming in quite aggressive. Only if we do see the buyers coming in aggressive, then maybe we could end up actually looking for a small counter trade. But in this situation, the way the buyers are reacting, if you compare how they reacted before, just huge moves to the upside whenever the price gets there. There's not necessarily much of a reaction. You could easily find this price breaking to the downside. If you see the price holding below, then we should be able to continue looking for selling opportunities on this pair. We'll wait to see what ends up happening, but overall, our bias here is definitely to continue looking for selling opportunities. So I hope that's clear on all the Canadian dollar pairs. As you can see, we've mixed and matched the Swiss franc and the Canadian dollar with all the pairs on the buy side. So right now, we're going to move on to the last currency pair that we will be focusing on, which is the US dollar pairs. Do the same thing, mixing and matching them with the pairs on the buy side before we do have a look at the metals, as well as a few indices as well. So starting off with the Australian dollar against the US dollar. So in this kind of pair on Friday, our bias here was to look for buying opportunities. Wanted to see if the price would end up giving us more of a pullback coming back within this particular area. Unfortunately, it did not seem to have bounced in some sort of small support in this area where the buyers managed to take it to the upside. But you can see the same illustration where we could have actually gotten a nice buying opportunity during the US session. Because once the price broke this area to the upside, you can see the price is actually holding above this area. And you can see it was continued holding until the US market came in, and that's when it actually started taking off. So it needed a big boy to actually move the market. And you can see it did come back towards the seller's area. So if it did not manage, it could easily be crying right now. And that's the reason why we're pointing out these levels where you should make sure if the price approaches such area, either close the trade fully or close some of your position and move your stop loss if you feel that the price is going to actually continue going in that particular direction. So here on the Australian dollar against the US dollar, we will still be looking for buying opportunities. There's a possibility, due to the fact that we've bounced between these two levels multiple times, there's a possibility that we could be in some sort of range. So the top of the range being right there, we do have the bottom of the range right here. So we wait to see what ends up happening. So even though we have this central level, it does seem that this price does want to actually come back in and hold below. You can see in this situation, if the price came back up and on this pullback, the price was holding above, we could end up finding a buying opportunity then. But right now, since the price seems to be coming down lower, let's wait to see. If we end up getting the price coming back in within this area, we can definitely end up looking for a buying opportunity. But if this ends up just being a probe and you see the buyers really coming in, and on that pullback, which we're hoping to come in slowly, we find the price actually holding above, then we should be able to find a buying opportunity there. So we wait to see what ends up happening. But right now, as the pullback is coming in, do wait to see when the big boy buyers are actually going to show themselves. So hope that's clear on the Australian dollar against the US dollar. So moving on to the next US dollar pair we do have, which is the euro against the US dollar. Now, this kind of pair did work out quite well for us on Friday. We're looking for buying opportunities based on these three areas. And also had pointed out, there seem to have been some sort of area where they're sellers, where the market was actually holding. We can see the price did come down, give us a nice buying opportunity at exactly 10 o'clock where the price managed to go to the upside. Can see we did end up approaching this seller's area, but the price was within this area at exactly 3 o'clock, so during the US market open. But even then, you can see this support and resistance area that was broken. You can see the price still managed to pull back towards that location before actually giving us a buying opportunity. Or if you missed that, you can see at 4:30 where the price was, we did get the price breaking and holding above the top area, and we could have actually been able to look for a buying opportunity there. So these market opening times also give us very good indications of when we should actually be buying and when we should be selling. So today, buyers here is still going to be looking for these buying opportunities based on these three areas right here. So right now, since we're within a buyer's area, let's wait to see if the price actually is going to hold above within this location for us to continue looking for buying opportunities here. But one thing to take note of, you can see as the market has been coming up, one thing we always take note of is the market structure. So you can see the price came up. This was the high that it made. The pullback, in terms of how much the pullback came in, was quite deep. And if you compare now the new high, which is just here, that's not necessarily much of a distance. That being the case, and we're expecting potential deep pullback, we might find that this market is actually channeling. So in some sort of huge channel right there. So if that's the case, we could easily find the market even pulling back down, potentially within this particular buyer's area. So if you could end up finding the price, could end up even coming all the way down within this location. Since it's an area, support and resistance area where the market has reacted from before, we do see the price reacting there, or if it ends up coming back within this location, and we do see the price holding above, we should be able to actually look for buying opportunities then as well. But right now, since we are potentially holding above, and the reason why I'm saying potentially is because we look at the pace of those sellers coming in. They do seem to be quite strong. So in this situation, what you might want to do is maybe look at the 3-minute time frame, wait to see when the sellers are actually slowing down, or if you see buyers actually coming back in and rejecting what the sellers are doing, then you might find the buying opportunity working out within here. But if not, let's wait to see if the price can come in a bit lower for us to look for those buying opportunities on the euro against the US dollar. So hope that's clear on the game plan, what we're looking at there. Let's move on to the next kind of pair, which is the British pound against the US dollar. Similar situation in this kind of pair. Yes, on Friday, our buyers were to look for buying opportunities. Remember, I did point out that the British pound pairs were showing a lot of strength. So you can see at 10 o'clock where the price was, or within this buyer's area, did manage to actually take off to the upside. You can see once it did that, it did have a support and resistance area right here, where the price did manage to still come back. After the breach, the upside, you can see the price pull back, coming back within that area, within around 3:30, so during the US market open, and there was another buying opportunity to take the price up higher. So today, buyers here is still going to be looking for buying opportunities. So we'll be focusing on these three areas. You can see right now the sellers are definitely reacting, giving us a pullback. And you can see the way the buyers are coming in comparison to the sellers potentially still look stronger. So we'll wait to see when the sellers are actually going to slow down, the buyers are going to come back. So we'll be focusing on these three main areas. So as long as we're holding above this red support and resistance area, our bias is going to be looking for buying opportunities. Now, just because we have pointed out these three areas, you can see we do have a level right here where this blue support and resistance area is. You can see the fact is the market was an area of resistance, which did end up turning into an area of support. As you can see, the price did end up pulling back on Friday during the US market open. So we'll wait to see what ends up happening. But right now, we want to see if the pullback comes in within this area, we could potentially find a buying opportunity there. But be aware the price can still pull back and come back towards this support and resistance area. So we also take note of that. If you find the market there within one of the market opening times and you see the buyers reacting or some sort of aggressive reaction from the buyers, then you could find a buying opportunity then. If you don't see any buyers reaction, chances are we could be coming back all the way to the main buyers area, this aggressive red line here, before we're able to look for those buying opportunities on the British pound against the US dollar. So we'll wait to see what ends up happening, but right now, definitely the pullbacks are what's coming in, so no trading opportunities just yet. Now, moving on to the next currency pair we do have the New Zealand dollar against the US dollar. Similar situation, we do seem to be in some sort of range, bouncing between these two levels. And you can see on Friday, we're looking for buying opportunities. Unfortunately, the buy did not come back down, or at least the price did not come all the way down to the buyer's area. You can see at 10 o'clock, we did end up getting the price breaching this area to the upside. And you can see the illustration that we had pointed out. Once the price broke the upside and the price was holding above, there was a nice buying opportunity, making sure to manage your trade within the seller's area. You can see exactly what happened, and the price ended up actually pulling back now during the Asian session. So since we do seem to be in some sort of range, overall, we'll still be looking for buying opportunities, pretty much have the same areas. So right now, the way the sellers are coming down, not interested in jumping, maybe buying opportunity just yet. Let's wait to see some sellers slowing down, some buyers coming back in. If we do end up seeing that, definitely we should be able to look for a buying opportunity down here. But remember, if the price breaks and falls below this red support and resistance area, this pair will fall off our watch list and will no longer be looking for any buying opportunities here. So let's wait to see what ends up happening. And there's something happening, it seems, with the New Zealand dollar pairs, because you can see the way the prices have started coming down. Remember, when we looked at the New Zealand dollar against the Canadian dollar, similar push to the downside. I think even the similar situation with the New Zealand dollar against the Swiss franc. So this has something to do with the New Zealand dollar. They might be inciting people to end up looking for those selling opportunities. And once you see the big boy buyers coming in, potentially at 10 o'clock, that's when you could end up finding those moves coming in. So we'll wait to see what ends up happening in those New Zealand dollar pairs. So last but not least, for the currency pairs, we do have the US dollar against the Japanese yen. You can see the reason why it was off our watch list. Yes, there was a lot of strength that did show up. On Friday, we do seem as if we're entering some sort of range. And I think the story for all the yen pairs is pretty much the same, potentially in some sort of range. And right now we're within the buyer's area. So if we are going to be looking for selling opportunities, let's either wait to see if we can get the price coming back all the way to the top for us to look for selling opportunities. We do have a major support and resistance area here, because you can see the price came down, did not break this level, it's pulled back up. It came down, probing this area multiple times. Even though it came to this extreme low, the market never actually held below this area. It's only on Friday when the price actually managed to break this area to the downside, pulled back, and you can see that was around 4:30, where the price confirmed that the price is actually going to fall below. So that's the reason why we'll still be focusing on sales, even though the market structure overall is at range, and the best place to look for the sellers at the top. Keep in mind that this central area is an area that has been reached, so we'll wait to see if we can end up getting some sort of probe or price action signal within this particular location. If not, and we do see the price breaking and holding below, then we should be able to continue looking for selling opportunities as well on the US dollar against the Japanese yen. So I hope that's clear on the game plan of what we're looking at on the US dollar pairs. So you can see we'll mix and match all the currency pairs here on the sell side with the pairs on the buy side. So right now, we're going to have a look at a few of the indices before we do look at gold and silver. So here we'll start off with the NASDAQ 100. Now, on Friday, our bias here was to look for selling opportunities. The price did end up coming down quite aggressive. And remember, when we were discussing this market, the price was within this buyer's area. So we needed one of two things, either a pullback or reach the downside where the price was below, or let's see if we can end up getting a pullback within one of these areas. Since we're dealing with the NAS 100, so it's mainly active during the US market, you can see during the Asian market, nothing much happened. During the London market, similar situation. The only times that you can see now big movement starting to happen is once 3 o'clock came in, once the US market did open. You can see the pullback started coming in. Fortunately, the buyers really came in quite aggressive, and you can see it confirmed that this level of the reach as the price was holding within this area. So it did manage to go up higher. It looked as if it was attempting to break this area to the upside. So in that situation, no break. It attempted to go up higher, and you can clearly see when the price came up, or at least it was attempting to pull back in, it never held above. So this ends up just being a probe. And that's the reason why we will still be looking for selling opportunities. Now, we are fully aware that if it is a probe, then what we want to see is a potential selling opportunity within the top area right there. So we'll focus on these three locations. Now, compare, at least these are small clues of how you can be able to identify potential trades, is compare how the buyers, yes, they were coming in very strong. And you can see the push to the upside quite strong, but it seemed there are some sellers who really rejected this level being broken, and you can see they took out everything that those buyers did. Now, the buyers, the last time, look at how they pushed to the upside just to get to this location. It took around 2 candles or so to just get to that location. But now look at how long these buyers are taking to come up within that location. So if you compare how the sellers right here came down with the buyers, the sellers are definitely stronger in comparison to the buyers. And the buyers are not necessarily looking as if they're that much interested. So wait to see. Since this has been approved, let's see if we can end up getting some potential selling opportunity. Obviously, the best, safest place to put your stop loss would be above the probe, because you never know if the price will end up getting there, but there is potential within that location. The only problem is here, or at least is that the first problem area doesn't necessarily give us a big risk reward of 1:2, because this is definitely an area we should watch out for. However, due to the fact the way the buyers are reacting, there might be a possibility that this level could be breached. And if you do see that and you end up being able to get all the way down there, you can see it does end up giving us a very nice risk reward. But we wait to see what ends up happening as these buyers are coming in. And remember, since we're dealing with the US, the NAS 100, there's a possibility we might not necessarily find anything happen during the London session, but you could find during the US session, that's when the market actually comes down. So we'll wait to see what ends up happening, but be aware, if this price breaks this area to the upside and holds above, then this pair will fall off. In terms of the sells will fall off our watch list. And at that point in time, we can actually start looking for buys. We're only looking for sells as long as we're holding below the red support and resistance area. The price breaks and holds above the red support and resistance area. At that point in time, we'll actually switch our bias and start looking for buying opportunities there. So let's wait to see what ends up happening on the NAS 100. So moving on to the next pair that we do have. So here we have the Dow Jones. Now here on Friday, our bias was to look for buying opportunities. And you can see the 3 areas that we had pointed out. So initially during the London session, you can see the price seemed to have been just holding within that particular seller's area. No reaction, similar situation with the NAS 100. But once 3 o'clock came in, that's when you start seeing the movement starting to come in. We did end up getting a small pullback, because you can see the price still managed to come all the way back to this buyer's area. That was around 330. And the reason why it was 330, even though we mentioned the times 10, 3, and 430, have a look on what, at least when you're having a look at the fundamentals, you'll realize that most of them end up coming out at around 330. So if you end up looking at the whole week, you'll see that most of the time when the US market ends up coming in, you can see the news events start at around 330. Not always are they going to come out at 3. So that's why sometimes, even though we mentioned 10, 3, and 430, we could find that 330, that's when there's certain movements. And you can see that's exactly what happened. So if you did miss that, you can see once the price broke and held above, at 430, that's when the price was holding above, and you can see that's when the main move take off to the upside did end up happening, giving us a very good number of pips. So today, buyers here is still going to be looking for buying opportunities. We will be focusing on these 3 major levels. So looking for, right there, we have the sellers area where I did see the sellers coming in quite aggressive. So wait to see what ends up happening. Similar situation with the NAS 100. The way the sellers have come down, and you compare the way the buyers are coming in, these are not very strong buyers. So what you might end up needing to see is maybe the sellers coming in again. And once we see the buyers actually showing up, when we end up coming in aggressive, then we could end up looking for a buying opportunity. But for now, let's just be a bit patient. Let's see what ends up happening here. These are not strong buyers. Because remember, even though we mentioned buy with buyers, sell with sellers, even though you want to buy with buyers, you also want to buy with strong buyers, rather than weak buyers. Because you can see as the buyers came in within this location, once those pull, at least the buyers pushed up within there, that small pullback, that still gives you an indication that the buyers should still be on, based on the fact that how the buyers came in before. You can see they did end up attempting again, but now once they're struggling within that particular location, it's very easy now why the sellers did end up coming or showing themselves up. So right now is the fact that the buyers are coming in slowly. It might still need a bit more of a pullback before we do end up seeing the buying opportunity coming. So we wait to see what ends up happening right now. but do be a bit patient on the Dow Jones. So hope that's clear as we move on now to the metals. So we'll start off with silver. Now on silver, on Friday, our bias initially was to look for buying opportunities, but our bias did switch. Remember, we did have this particular support and resistance area right here, where we were focusing on these buyers who did push the market up. As soon as the price broke to the downside, remember I did point out what we wanted to see is if the price held below, we could have actually switched our bias and started looking for sales. And you can see there were some selling opportunities that did come in on Friday. So once the price did end up giving us a pullback, you can see it attempted to look as if it was breaking this area to the upside, but you can see the price still did manage to continue coming down. So overall on silver, our bias did end up switching once that did end up happening, and we could be looking for selling opportunities, and we will still be looking for selling opportunities today. So we'll be focusing on these three areas. So this is the seller who managed to actually break this area to the downside and hold below. So as long as we're holding below this red support and resistance area, our bias is going to be looking for selling opportunities. Now, one thing to take note of, even though that's overall where the main sellers are, we can see in terms of market structure, we were coming down with a downtrend, but right now we do seem to be bouncing between these two levels with some sort of range between these two areas. So if that's the case, we definitely want to end up looking to see if we can grab a sell at the top, making sure to manage our trade at the bottom. But right now, the fact that we're within a buyer's area, let's wait to see either a breach to the downside and actually getting the price holding below for us to look for selling opportunities. Or if not, let's see if the price can come back in within this particular seller's area for us to continue looking for selling opportunities, since the market does seem to be ranging. But for right now, since we're within a buyer's area, do trade it with caution. If you are going to jump in on a buy, do make sure you are reading the story properly. So you can go down to the smaller time frame, read the story of how the sellers are coming in before you're able to look for that trade. So let's wait to see what ends up happening on silver. So hope that's clear as we move on to the last and final favorite, which is gold. We do know a lot of people love trading gold. So on gold on Friday, our bias here was to look for buying opportunities. And you can remember, since the markets really did move aggressive on Thursday, it did end up giving us more than 3 levels. So you can clearly see we had 4 highlighted areas. So as long as we're holding above the red support and resistance area, our bias is going to be looking for buying opportunities. So you can see on Friday where the price was, it did look as if it was breaking this area to the downside. We said either the price breaks this area and holds above for us to continue looking for buys, or if it ends up holding below, confirming that that level has been broken, we'll be looking for our buying opportunities within the next problem area. And you can see that's exactly what happened. Whereas the pullback came in, price was holding below. We ended up getting more of a pullback where the price managed to come down. And this, as you can take note, it was around 3:30 or going to 4 o'clock. So that was when the US market did open, giving us a buying opportunity then. We do end up taking note. If you did miss that trade, you can see once the price broke this area to the upside and held above, this is around 5:30 or so. It did give us another buying opportunity. And you can see the reason why we do make sure, or at least tell you to make sure you manage your trade between these problem areas. So the market did end up giving us a pullback in that location, which is okay. But due to the fact that we're still maintaining between these same levels, overall, our bias is still going to be looking for buying opportunities based on this same location. Right now, since we do seem as if we are potentially breaking this area to the downside, as I said, potentially because we have not yet gotten a pullback confirming that that level has actually been broken. So we wait to see what ends up happening. So if we do see something similar to what happened on Friday, where the price actually pulls back and holds below, then we'll look to see if we can end up grabbing our buying opportunity within this next area. And it's a similar situation. As long as we're holding above the red SNR, we will be looking for buying opportunities on this pair. So if the price breaks and goes below this red support and resistance area, that's when our bias will switch to start looking for sales. But right now, let's wait to see where the pullback comes in. We have multiple buyers areas where those buyers could potentially jump back into the market. So I hope that is clear for all the currency pairs. As you can see, we've mixed and matched all the currency pairs, including gold and silver. So these are the fundamentals, or at least the watch list for today. In terms of fundamentals for today, we do have not necessarily that much. We have some Swiss franc news, which is saying positive. We'll wait to see what ends up happening. This fundamentals that has come out right now could potentially end up changing the Swiss franc. So this news just came out at 9:30. And one thing, I think if you end up having a look at the economic calendar, the Swiss franc doesn't necessarily release news that often. You can see we do have that news on Monday. And it doesn't seem as if we have any more Swiss franc news right now, at least throughout the whole week. We can see the whole week is empty. So the only piece of Swiss franc news is this one that has just come out. And since it's saying positive, do trade it with caution, because you can see we do have these Swiss franc pairs, the Australian dollar against Swiss franc, the euro against Swiss franc. So if you do end up finding that the Swiss franc is actually showing strength, you might find that these pairs might fall off our watch list. So make sure you trade them with caution, but we'll end up informing you on the Telegram channel if they are fully changed. So hope that is clear. So I can be able to address questions on the Q&A section if there are any. So I'm seeing a bit of questions here. So I'm seeing Alan Rono is saying, thanks a lot, Mitch. Karibu sana, Alan. Glad that you're here as well. So I'm seeing Mwangi Lucy asking, hi, Mitch, please assist me on this one, the right time for entering a trade. Okay, now it's always, it depends, right? So if you're going to end up looking for a particular trade, it depends on the market timings. So markets are most likely to end up moving within specific times, because who are the people who move the market? They're big boys. The same way there are rich people, or let's say there are rich people in the US will do different things than the rich people in Asia, or the big boys in Asia, and they'll do something different than the big boys in Europe. So due to the fact that they're all doing different things, you don't know when or whether or not those big boys are actually going to get interested in it. So as we end up having a look at the fundamentals, like the fact that we have the Swiss franc on the sell side, the one thing we're looking at is seeing at that time in terms of the session, let's say the London big boys, are those London big boys going to be interested in selling the Swiss franc? So we have levels to actually end up seeing that. And when we see a reaction there, we know that it's most likely going to continue going throughout the London session. If it doesn't do that, you might find that the US big boys could end up doing that. That's the reason why we mentioned these timings, 10, 3, and 4:30, because that's when the markets are most likely to actually take off. And that also gives us a timing, or at least helps with our timing of when we should actually be able to jump in on the trade. Because if you do see the markets moving around that time, even if you're not in at that particular price, you could end up waiting for a pullback, because it gives you confirmation of what direction the big boys want to take it. Right? So I hope that helped, but I can also see John has also given his 2 cents on that as well. So I'm also seeing a question from Robert Morioki is saying, hi guys, so give us a checklist on your requirements to meet before you take a trade. Like, does the BOS have to happen at a higher time frame when you zoom into the 15-minute or a pullback? Now, I know we do end up going through these concepts. So I think even we'll be going through them a lot with the Amplified program. Do you remember that we are actually going to be starting this? This today is the first lesson as well. But remember, the August and September has been open. So if you do want to end up jumping in on this, you should be able to join in. And we do end up going, this is what you're asking for, about the pullbacks and an in-depth into entries. So there are a number of things we end up looking at. One thing I would give in terms of advice right now is possibly having a look at 2 time frames. So even though we have the 15-minute time frame here, have a look to see if the market ends up giving us a pullback within a particular area. You can see the way this one has just come in like this. It's pulling back right now. Let's see. Now you may need to go to the smaller time frame and wait to see what kind of pullback comes in. So here is where you want to see, as the market is coming down lower, we see the market holding within this area, and you see the buyers coming in. You could end up finding a nice buying opportunity then. So we end up looking at multiple time frames, but then there are a lot of things you need to see even just before. Because remember, the last thing that you'll end up looking at is to enter. So there's a lot of research done beforehand. Because I think if you're going to, let's say, buy a car, I don't think you'll just go buy the first car that you'll end up seeing. Ideally, you end up going, you do your research, you find out how is the consumption, how is what. You'll find out everything about it, how much are spare parts. You'll do a lot of research before you actually buy. It should be the same thing with trading. Not necessarily just jump in or buy or sell. You need to do that research of, okay, if I enter here, where are the problem areas? What issues might I get? So apply it as if you're buying anything else from the outside world, even if it's a piece of land or a house, that you ask yourself certain questions that will determine whether or not you should buy something, right? But you can also end up giving us a call. Moving to our contact details are there. I think we should also be able to help you out as well on that, right? So I hope that's okay for you, Robert. So I'm not seeing any more questions, which is okay. We do need to jump onto the charts. At least gives us a few minutes before we jump onto the London session, because we do have around 4 minutes or so. And as you've seen, like this kind of pair that we're looking at, the New Zealand dollar against the Canadian dollar. Remember, I did point out that a number of these New Zealand dollar pairs look as if they're attempting to breach certain areas, but you could find that those just incitement. So as you can see, as the price is coming down, the type of buyers that are coming in. So I do end up hoping that's clear. So last but not least, I'm seeing a last question. David, here you're asking for me to repeat gold. So on gold, buyers here is still going to be looking for buying opportunities. Right now, we want to see if the price falls below this area, we'll look to see if we can grab our buying opportunity lower. Now, if we do end up seeing the price coming back in, because remember, this could easily be approved, where the price goes breaks to the upside, and if you do see the price holding above, then we should be okay to look for a buying opportunity then. But right now, since the pullback is coming in, let's wait to see at what point in time the pullback is going to slow down and the buyers are going to come in. And that's the reason why we focus on multiple time frames, because you can see as this market is coming down here, you can see these are just red candles. There's not much here you can be able to read from that. However, if you do go to the 3-minute time frame, you can start being able to see clues or indications of how the sellers are coming in. Very strong, very small pullback. Compare how they came down the second time. A bit more choppier in comparison to these two candles where it took way more. So similar situation, you can start seeing that there might be signs that the buyers are coming in, or when we could potentially end up starting to slow down. So you can start seeing the ebb and flow of how the market is coming in, or whether or not it still has strength. So you can be able to use 2 time frames to look at the details to see if you're just seeing a big move to the upside, what indications are there that we could end up finding a nice trading opportunity there. So I hope that's clear for you as well. So, and you can see just a quick example. You can see here, gold on the 3-minute on Friday, as the price came down, you can see the reaction of the buyers. They attempted to come down and the buyers reacted again. So even you looking for a buying opportunity there, you have more clues that the sellers are actually slowing down. But if you look at this move right here on the 15-minute on Friday, there's not much that you can be able to see. You can just only see one red candle and a green candle. You're not actually able to see the detail where you can see, yes, I should actually buy within that location. So looking at a small time frame gives you more of at least deeper insight of what exactly is happening there. Right? So I hope that's clear. So since we do need to jump on to the charts as well, since we are looking to end up jumping into Trade London as well. So I want to thank you guys so much for joining me today. Hope you found value in these sessions. And remember, if you do find any setup based on things that we do share, feel free to send them in to us. Our contact details are right there in the chat box. And remember, if you are interested in the AMP, getting into detail of exactly how we're going to be looking for trades, and as well as the fact that we'll be sitting here for a whole month with you, looking for opportunities together. So any questions you have, feel free to ask them there. There's literally no filter, and we'll be giving you all the information as possible. So feel free to sign up for this. You can go to the Afriforex.com website, and you should be able to find it right there on the homepage, the Amplified program. You can be able to sign up. Remember, it's not just for now. The July class is already starting, so it will be for the August and September classes are open. So if you are interested, feel free to sign up for that. So that's it for me, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed. Hope to see you guys later on, to at least tomorrow at 9 a.m. Cheers, guys. God bless. Happy trading, and bye for now.